The 58th Vanier Cup kicks off on Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on CBC. The University of British Columbia meets the University of Montreal at Richardson Stadium in Kingston for Canada's National Football Championship. Who are you picking and why?
I'm taking the Montreal Carabins, and it's for the same reason why I took them to win.
Where's your French? I thought you like to say Carabin.
Well, Carabin, fair enough. In fairness, my French is also terrible, and I don't want to insult. I don't want to insult the French-Canadian community in this country with my terrible pronunciations.
Marc-Antoine Dequois is going to come after you.
Yeah,
he is going to come after me. He's too busy partying it up in his home city right now after a Grey Cup championship to come after me. But the Carabin simply did an incredible job against a Western Mustangs offense that admittedly was without some key weapons. I don't think that quarterback Evan Hillock was fully healthy. Their two top running backs were out. But, 3 picks in the first quarter was sensational. This Carabin defense has yet to give up more than 16 points in a game this season. They played the Laval Rouge 3 times this year, gave up a combined 20 points in those 3 contests. This is one of the not just stingiest defenses the U Sports has seen this year. It is one of the stingiest, I would say, in the last 20 years. And when you can shut down your opponents and force them to make mistakes on offense, you've got a great chance, especially when you've got somewhat of a home advantage. This game is being played in Kingston, Ontario, which of course makes it a neutral site game, but UBC's got a long way to travel. And unlike the professional ranks where guys are used to moving all around the country, obviously the student athletes at UBC are not used to flying that far for football games. So I'm happy to take the Carabin to win their first Vanier Cup since 2014. They've been in 2 since then. This time I think they get it done.
This is going to pain me to say it as a UBC alumnus and a big fan of the Thunderbirds football program, but I am also picking the Carabin in this game. And the reason why is, despite the fact that I think the Thunderbirds have more talent, I think the Carabin are a better team right now. And I'll give you some details on that. On the UBC side, they've got 2 potentially NFL caliber offensive tackles in Dio Benedette and Giovanni Manu. They've got some great future CFLers, guys like receiver Sam Davenport. On the defensive side, corner Jarrell Cummings, a fantastic linebacking core just across the board. But they've let a lot of teams into football games and then had to pull it out at the last possible minute. You look at their Hardy Cup victory against Alberta. If they didn't strip Hetlinger on that final drive, they would have lost that football game. And that was a fumble that shouldn't have happened from an Alberta Golden Bears perspective. Even in the national semifinal against St. FX, you wouldn't know it by the final score, but the X-Men were pressing them for a lot of the first half of that game. UBC did not put their foot down for much of that contest, and they frankly should have won by a lot more based on the talent disparity. The Montreal Carabins are a completely different animal because of how physical and cohesive they are as a unit. There is not a lot of weaknesses there. They may not have the same caliber of guys who can be potential first overall or first round CFL picks or NFL draft picks, but they work together. They know their system, and they absolutely smashed the Western Mustangs with that style of football. I think it's going to be a little bit of a rude awakening for UBC, and they're not going to be able to come back from it like they have against some of their lesser opponents.
I'll provide a little bit of balance here. I'm not going to pick the game because I'm on CBC's in-studio panel with Andy Petrillo and Donovan Bennett for this game. But I will say that UBC's team speed, I think, will be faster than anything Montreal has faced this year. And if you take Jonathan Senecal, the outstanding quarterback, away from this Carabin offense, especially in the run game, who else do they have that UBC should be scared of? And I think that's a question to me that I'm going to track throughout the game. But from UBC's perspective, the Thunderbirds have arguably, and I would say actually, the best offense that Montreal has faced all season long. So I think that's where this game is going to be won or lost. You mentioned the tackles there. Gavin Coates at center is an outstanding lineman for the Thunderbirds. Shamar McBean has track level speed for UBC. Sam Davenport has made clutch plays. He has the makings to be a CFL slot back. Isaiah Knight is out here running like Eric Lapointe, according to Blake Nill, when Nill was back at St. Mary's University and trying to game plan for Lapointe, or it might have even been when he was at St. Francis Xavier way back. But nonetheless, that comparison doesn't come lightly. So I think that's where this matchup to me gets interesting. And I think if you look at that Western Montreal game, which we all watched together, that was to me more about Western not playing well, especially Evan Hillock putting them behind early, and also the Mustangs being beat up, than it was Montreal actually going out and winning the game. If you get that many turnovers in a football game, it should have been even more of a blowout. I'm not saying Montreal's not good in full value, and I do agree with you guys that Montreal might be the better team and more consistent team right now. But UBC has some peaks that are elite and where I think they can take advantage of some of these matchups. And Pat Tracy, the defensive coordinator for UBC, is going to be multiple in what he puts in front of Montreal and Senecal. And you can't live and die on a quarterback in the run game. I've lived it myself and learned the hard way. Hodge, I know you hate when I bring this up, but as a dual threat quarterback in U Sports, teams game plan for that. And they try to hem you in. And Montreal doesn't even have a running back that they can consistently turn around and hand the ball to and get a decent amount of yardage. So I think that's where UBC's defense is given the advantage in that matchup. And as long as UBC on offense can avoid, and I think this term is right, being Vancouver soft, because Montreal is ultra physical. Those guys will smack you in the mouth every single play. Then I think the Thunderbirds are at least going into this game as slight favorites.
Well, and I'll say this too. Shout out to CBC for broadcasting this game. The Vanier Cup is the one game a year that U Sports really gets the love that it should from a broadcasting perspective. And fortunately, it will be in Canadian homes for people to watch and largely for free. My player to watch has to be Adam Lachance, guard for the Montreal Carabins, 6'4", 433 pounds, and they pull him at every opportunity they get. Good luck to whichever UBC defensive end or outside linebacker has to eat those blocks all day, because Lachance is a load.